Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender in Europe, game designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. This is the East First campaign series. We are getting ready to go into... ultimately, we will be in December here, is where we're at. However, he was unaware that I was going to be able to roll for the Moscow Treaty and maybe not have a chance to do his diplomatic thing for possibility of getting Italy in because he conquered France here in November. So I let him basically, we rewound things. He didn't take 3 sorties. He didn't take his sorties in Dijon, didn't take his sorties in the airplane outside of the Netherlands. He did save 6 points there, so we said, well, why don't you move that militia in Dijon, up to the ports, like in Calais, so I had no chance of doing a silly invasion type thing. He agreed with that, and he also allowed me, here you're going to see, and then we went ahead and did the Diplomacy Cup, and he did pull his pro marker. And he already had a pro marker in Italy from the conquest of France, so Italy activated. We stopped in the middle of the diplomatic phase because he wasn't really ready to set up the Italians, and he really wanted to think about it. And I said, let's stop here, and next session, you'll have time to think. You can have your Italians, and you'll know how to set them up, and then we'll be done. So that's what we did. And so that's where we're picking up, is at the end of the diplomatic phase of November 1942. As a reminder, Italy came in, or he went into Russia, and I managed to hang on to Russia till August of 1941 is the turn that he was able to conquer it. That required us to put these scenario ends in July of 1946. So the game's going to go a little longer than your average games. And we'll proceed from here. I think he's going to be just placing a bunch of Italians. As I just pointed out to other people, if you right-click on this and hit Set Turn, you can set the number, so you don't have to do click ups and downs when the numbers are really high. Like if you're at, -4 and you need to be at +4, you can just kind of flick it rather quickly that way. It's an easy way to reset. There's no way for me to just put a button here that says reset and click it. I've looked. I would have to write some specific code for that kind of thing, and I'm trying to avoid writing special code for the module so that it will always be relatively compatible moving forward with new versions of the Vassal engine until they decide to make all this stuff obsolete and make us rewrite everything. But that's in the future someday. So here we go. This was the other thing that I kept forgetting that I had an upgrade. I always remember the Russians, but I keep forgetting to see the British one because it's so light. And I just kind of brush over it because you're not used to the British getting anything. So, sort of as a payback for me letting him do his diplomacy phase, he allowed me to go ahead and update the Western Desert Force to the 8th Army. And I said, no matter what, whether you'd gotten Italy or not, that's the army I would have done, because I was more worried about having proper defense of Egypt, because not only is it a factory, but he gets pluses on the strategic warfare for Suez, and that's where I would have put the good unit, not over in... if I lose French North Africa, I can always take it back, but losing the Middle East could be devastating if I did. So that's what we did there. And then now I think he's placing Italians. He's got an infantry unit in Tripoli, an infantry unit in... why don't I zoom out so it doesn't jump around quite as much? So he's checking where my airplanes can go. And he puts convoy and fleet in Tripoli. And he put fleets over there. And then I pointed out that Cagliari, because he has a full-strength infantry unit in there, that he's not in supply. And I think he changes his deployment based on that, puts the fleets over there. I personally probably would have only thrown a garrison in there and left the real infantry unit to be put somewhere else, but that's just me. And then, so now we're back into the Western diplomacy phase, and what I did is I took the no event, just pulled them out so we could see what the count was. So there's 5 no events, so 6, 7. It's a 1 and 7 for bad, 1 and 7 for good, 5 no events. And I said, well, I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going to put a political success and a no event in there. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm hoping that the Russians can pull a political success and get rid of this pro marker if they don't come in. So that was the point of that. And then we move over to the Soviet part, which I didn't move the marker, the turn thing, but I paid the Soviets. They pulled, and they pulled a no event. So now the Germans are right back where they were last turn. They have a 25% chance next turn if the Russians don't come in. They'll have a 25% chance of getting a pro marker or their political success, and then they could activate Finland. So, and we go to victory check, and we're out of diplomacy here. End of turn phase is, we pretty much had done it already. So the only thing left is the roll for the Moscow Treaty, and the Russians rolled a 1. So it's not going to happen. Russians don't want to fight in December. They want to have Christmas at home. So we move it to January. Maybe they'll come in 1943. And we're in December. So we go here, we have to do a weather die roll here very quickly, very shortly. I'm not sure what's going on. There it is. So we go to the weather, and he rolls a 145. And in December, that's poor, and severe in Italy. So in the warm zone, not a lot's going to happen. Something might happen in the desert, but nothing's going to happen. No invasions of Italy or anything like that. No surprises. We didn't choose to declare war. Economies. The British are up to 26. The Germans misplay their thing. They're actually at 14 plus 2. So that should be 16. He should be at 32. And for some reason he stopped at 10. We find that in a little bit, but it was kind of amusing to think that Germany was only at 12 production points. The Russians are normally at 18, but they always give one to the Turks because I'm paranoid. Typical Russian paranoia. And strategic warfare, it's just in the west. I think I'm plus 3 because I only have 1 bombed marker. And he now has an airplane in Stavanger, so he's actually plus 1. And I don't know if he had anything on the cards. Oh, he had submarines, and I had an Ultra. So I think we technically go to combat commitment, but it was kind of like, yeah, like I don't know. This is a point where the Germans, I would have played mind games with the British, and I wouldn't have played it, trying to get them to play their Ultra, because you're only going to lose 1 factory, and then you could get it back the following turn. It's just a matter of whether you really think you need all those production points. So we both played our stuff, so we're both halved. So he rolls a 4, plus 1 is a 5, halved to 2.5 becomes a 3. I rolled a 4 plus 3, which is a 7, which is halved to 3.5 becomes a 4. And so nothing happens. No factories move, because we're both as low as we could be. And then he rolls a 2. He keeps rolling his attack die instead of the single blue die. He rolls a 2 for his submarines, and I roll a 4 for my Ultra. So he'll get his submarines back before I get my Ultra. So he might be able to do something to me. And then we're going to strategic movement. So get this stuff out of the way. Pretty sure he goes down here and grabs this Panzer that's down here. I think that's the guy that's going to get moved. He goes flying across the map here. And it's going to end up down there. And then he just has to move the marker. And that was me moving it back because I couldn't figure out where it came from. And then we went to the west, and I said, you know, I'm I'm going to go ahead and move. I thought about moving the Western Desert Force up, like just adjacent to Tobruk. And I said, nah, I'm just going to bring my garrison from Haifa down to Egypt because I have a little trick with the Turks to pull. Thought I could put it all the way up there, and I said, nah, just stay there because I'm at low supply. And that was my strategic movement there. And then the Soviets, I messed up here. I was going to take one of these infantry units and put it in Novorossiysk, but I couldn't for the life of me remember what I was going to do, so I said, never mind, Germans, go ahead and do their thing. And now here comes the run of the German army here. So the Panzer army is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Coming to help the Italians. I'm not even threatening to invade them yet, and he's coming to help the Italians. The Africa army, he starts to move that army when he activated. I said, that wrong army. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then he goes over here to the east, or to the west rather, where it's poor weather. And he's going to do the 1, 2, 3, 1, and assault. And his airplane is in range, and my airplane's in range. We go officially to combat commitment. It's kind of like, yeah, not a real heavy thought process. He throws in his tank to help him get up the odds. And we do airplanes, and he throws in heavy artillery. So then we go, he's at -4, and I'm at -2. Hero 4, and I didn't roll high enough to get, I was hoping to get multiple sorties on him, but couldn't do it. So we just took one sortie, and we're both in the combat. So now we start doing the adding up. So I'm +1 for British, +1 for armor, +1 for an airplane. I'm done. He's +2 for German, +1 for an armor. He has a buddy who thinks he's an armor. He has a real armor. He has heavy artillery, and he has an airplane. And then he's -1 for the city, -1 for the weather. So +8 to +3. I'm pretty sure I'm being retreated here. He rolls a 1. So he still ends up with a 9. I'm at +3, and I rolled a 6. If I'd rolled a 3 or less, I still would have been retreated. Even with a 1, there was a 50-50 chance that he would retreat me. If he'd rolled like a 4 and gotten to a 12, it would have been a guaranteed thing. So, such is the world of the Vasta dice. Then he rolls 6 for his heavy artillery. Again, rolling his attack die instead of the blue die. So it gets a little confusing. You think there's another attack there, but it's not. And the tanks go on the turn track, and that's done. So I held out for another turn. Then he's doing? Oh, this airplane that was up in the Netherlands, he's going to move it, I believe, down to Italy. Yes, moves it down to Milan. So he's getting ready for the Western invasion of Italy. And now he decides to finally activate the 7th Army. And it goes a marching 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ta-da. And then the guy that was outside of Toulouse goes for a march. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He goes too far. And I make him go back and say, count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And stops there. And then he decides to go ahead and take this supply. Goes ahead and uses the convoy to supply this just in case he decides to not buy his surprise attack marker. Because he has 21 left. He can do like nothing and buy a surprise attack marker, or he can, bring down all the German airplanes and everything. So, gives him flexibility. He doesn't have to decide right now which one he's going to do, but now he has the flexibility to do either. So now we go into current Western ops. Since he didn't have any airplanes, I think I went and did my bombing first. Yeah. So I just went, excuse me, run myself up to 6 sorties because this may be the last time I can get this many bomb markers down. And just, you know, bombed 3. I could have bombed Posen, but I chose not to. Then, not sure what I'm doing next. Oh, we went back to Axis operations after I did my bombing. I said, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to do your supply because I can actually intercept because I have a fleet that can do that. So that's what we're doing now. So he went out with the escort. So I was +2 and halved, and he's 0 and halved. I rolled a 1, +2 is a 3, so I became a 2. And he became a 4, so he took 1 sortie in his fleet. I took 2. And then he escorted again to get his other infantry unit, and I said, no, I'm not going to intercept this time. Not this time. I'm done. And then I pointed out that I could intercept up here, so he went ahead and escorted, and I chose not to intercept there because I had enough sorties on me. And then we went back into Western Ops. And then I started... Where did I start? I don't know what I did. Oh, I moved the Med Fleet into Alexandria so I could cover more sea zones in the future. And... Okay, I have a convoy that left Port Said. It went 1, 2, 3 into 31. 4, 5, 6 into Arabian Sea. 7, 8, 9 into the Western Indian Ocean. Takes a sortie. And then he goes 3, 6, 9. Takes another sortie. Now he picks up the American task force and goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And technically he can intercept me here with his fleet. I remember it's severe, so we're halved. And I think he just chose not to do that. And so then I went 8 and then landed in Gibraltar because I can't get any farther. And then the American convoy with 4 sorties comes sailing into here. I thought he could intercept me there, but he couldn't. That was us making sure he didn't want to intercept. Then I sail in here. I said, do you want to intercept? And I rolled a 4 minus 1 is a 3, halved to 1.5 becomes a 2, so he didn't stop me, and I just got it. If he'd rolled really high and I rolled really, he could have gotten me 2 sorties and would have, the airplane would have had an extra sortie on it and so on. But that didn't work out. Now I move the British Air. We're going to zoom in here because now we're going to get to some ground combat. It's nice to be zoomed out when you're doing strategic move type things or fleet moves, but zoom in for the ground combats. The British Air moves down, and then the BEF goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and attacks the Italian infantry in Trieste, or Tripoli. We go to combat commitment. And so he threw his tanks, I threw my tanks, I threw my airplane. So now he's +2. I'm +1 for British, +2 for the tank, +2 for the airplane, -1 for the city. +4 to +2. I get a 7. And he rolls a 2, +2 is a 4. So he is retreated. Tanks markers go away. He's retreated. The fleet just sails off to Benghazi. I take Tripoli. So he loses a factory. And a will. And I had another attack left in me, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I had 3 left, so I went ahead and attacked again, hoping to flip it or something. And I had a threw in my tanks, threw in my airplane, so I'm +5 to +0. Rolled a 3 + 5 is an 8. He rolled a 6. He says, I'm not going to give you any more ground. So there you have that. And I think I'm going to switch over to the other side of the world. And I moved the 10th. He started off in, he started there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because being in a fort, he has no zone of control, so I can go there. Now I've isolated him. And then I'm going to move the Western Desert Forest 1, 2, 3, starting there. Move the airplane up first, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Attacking him. So attacking him, and he's isolated, so I'm 3 to start with. 1 is British, 2 for armor, 2 for isolation, 2 for the airplane, and then -1 for the city. So I'm only +6, but I'm halved. So I need to roll like a 5 or 6, so that I'd be halved to rounding up to a 6. And then he would have to roll like a 1 or a 2. So he'd end up at a 1, so I'd get my DD. So like a 1 and 36, or 4 and 36, I don't know. It's not very good odds, okay, guys? It's a shot in the dark to see if I can get lucky. 3 + 6 is not enough. That becomes a 4.5, becomes a 5. He did roll my 1, so he is flipped, but if I could have rolled a 6 with that, he would have been DD'd and I would have taken the fort. So he's just flipped. So he's still there. And he'll be there next turn. And that's the end of that. I think now I'm just doing supply. So I did 3 with him. Oh, I did 2 on each. That's what it was. I did 2 here, and I did 2 here. They were both at once. And that should put all of those guys on that side of the thing in supply. Then with the American fleet, I said we're going to do the BEF. I think I did the aircraft first or something. I did the aircraft first. So he was -2, and I was -1, and we're both halved, so he rolled a 3, I rolled a 4, so -2, -1, and then halve it, so I took a sortie there, and then a sortie for the supply. Then I did it again. Ask him if he wanted to intercept. He chose not to intercept on the next one. Then I went ahead and did the American convoy for the airplane. He chose not to intercept. So I ended up getting them all in supply as well. Now I'm playing around with Russians. Since I made my mistake and didn't, I forgot to strategically move somebody, I counted and I went, oh look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm threatening, since I get my surprise attack marker in January, now I'm threatening Constanta and Odessa, because he doesn't have anything in them. And Odessa is a nice one because it's also a supply source for me. So it's something that he has to think about now. Zapped it up so that he could see where it came from. He says, yep, okay. And, that put me down to only 16 left. And then this is the trick. Italians, you have to make this decision when you're setting up. Do you really want to try to hang on to roads? You can put a garrison in there and stop this nonsense. if Italy's active. If Italy's not active, you don't need to do this. But if Italy's active, or Turkey's active, I'm sorry, not Italy. When Italy activates and Turkey is active, you do need to decide whether you want to keep roads or not. If you do, then you need to put a garrison unit in it, because it'll stay in supply and it just sits there until somebody kicks it out. Because otherwise, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it takes down the Italian willpower by 1. And it also prevents, since Axis can only invade on the same sea zone, it takes away the one port you can possibly invade the Middle East from. Now all you can invade from would be like Tobruk, and you would have to hit Alexandria, which is fairly easy to see coming. So, as a matter of fact, my next, because he doesn't have his surprise attack marker out yet, I don't have to worry about it for a while, but once he does, if I don't have Tobruk, I'll just put a garrison unit in Alexandria, and that keeps that from happening. So, things to watch out for, people. And I was explaining to him, if you're in the port, you're in supply on an island. Especially on hex islands like that. So, that was it. Soviets were done. We go ripping through here. We go to the Axis replacements. I'm going to zoom out because it goes a little bit easier that way. It's going to be the Italians for the most part, I think. He works on his naval units. Both of them come down, so that that's 8. Then he spends 3, I think, on this convoy down here. I know he rambles around on this a little bit, trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. So 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Wanted to make sure he could flip his infantry. And it's like, yep, both fleets and the convoy and the infantry gets flipped. So now, he decided that he really wanted to have German aircraft back. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 'Oh, and then he was looking at this, whether he wanted to bring down more like this convoy as well, or save for the for diplomacy. And he had an armored unit over here, which is what that last 2 points was. And then he had to think about whether he wanted to, bring down this convoy and skip diplomacy or go after it. And he said, 25% chance. This is us. I was pointing out to him what's in here. It's like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no events, 2 pros, 1 bad, and that's 8. So he has a 25% chance of something good, 12.5% chance of something bad, and the rest of the percentages is just not going to happen. So at this point, it was kind of like, yeah, what are we going to do? So put it back in the cup and think about that. And I think he decides at this point, say that he's done. And then I have to go to the west, and I only have 21 points for the British. So I think the first thing I do is I go do the Americans. They come down. This guy comes down. His airplane should come down. Yep. And then I think that was it. And I started having to do the British. So the airplanes. Am I doing it over here first? Yeah, I'm doing it over here first. So I brought the airplane down. It's 3, 6. And both convoys, that was 12. And then this was 15. bring down the convoy in Gibraltar, because he's going to have to move into Casablanca to help me supply my guys, because it's just becoming too hard to do in here, and I'm going to have to do something about these Italian fleets. And then I had to make a decision on whether I wanted to do like a convoy in this airplane, because I had 6 left, or bring down my bombers. And in the end, I decided the bombers were more important. Force him to put some airplanes in Germany to stop me. And then we're over to the Soviets. The Soviets had like, the only thing to do was like take a couple sorties off the convoy, and then we're done. And we go to upgrades. Soviets. Nope, nobody has any upgrades, so we go to the mobilization. Nobody had anything to build except the Americans, and they throw their fleet into North America. And then we're done. Oh, as we get to the diplomacy phase here, at some point here, I point out to him that I forgot that I had actually somebody to flip, so he let me flip my shock army. Diplomacy phase. So Axis diplomacy, he spent his 5. And pulled a no event, so no activated Finland. Okay. And then I took the no events and threw them all back in the bucket, and then let the Soviets pull. Not at very good odds, but at least it's better odds to not get the political failure and activate Finland. And I pulled the no event, so didn't work. So we go to, no way I have a victory on him. We go to the turn track. Bring up all the goodies here so you can see stuff move. And so British get back their tanks. The Germans get a bunch of stuff. British get an Ultra and surprise attack marker, so now I have 2 of them. The Russians get a surprise attack marker. The Russians have an airplane to build. The Russians get an upgrade for their tanks armies, an upgrade for their infantry. They have a tank army to build. And then they get Lend-Lease, so that's going to move out to July. And their count goes up to 4 now. So 6, 4 is 10. They'll have 19 next turn unless they come in the war, in which case they'd have 5. Plus 4 is 9, which would be 18 times 2, which would be 36. So they'll either have 19 or 36, depending on what they roll on the Moscow Treaty. And I believe that's where we're at now. And we roll the die, and it's a 4. So the Moscow Treaty ends. Russia's back in the war in January of 1943. So we have to see what the weather's going to be in the east. So we go end of turn. We go to the weather phase. And he rolls a 5. 1, 3. 5 in January is a severe in the cold zone. A 1 in the mild zone is poor. So poor still over in France. And then in Italy it is poor as well. And that end of this turn. End of our session. So yeah, there you have it. Russia's in the war. Germany has a turn to, redress any line issues they might think that they have. They're doing pretty good, I think. They have an awful lot of miners here in the south. So, some minor units might die along the way because they don't defend nearly as well as Germans. But with it being severe, he definitely, even, Even with a bunch of minors, severe, they aren't going to die because it's so hard to get a DD result in severe. You basically have to have them isolated so that, and all sorts of things. It usually takes 2 attacks on an isolated unit. And I don't see that happening anytime soon here. So, and then the war is heating up in the Mediterranean. I have taken Tripoli, so he does not have a low supply source down here. His fleet's penned up in Benghazi. Since he has to supply out of Benghazi, and now I can use the Mediterranean fleet over here as well to try and hit him. Since the American fleet took so many sorties last time. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a long war. I'm not in a hurry as far as that goes. I know it's going to take me quite a few turns to clear out North Africa and set myself up. Hopefully for the summer of 43 I can do an invasion, into Sicily or something, depending on where that German armored goes. If he goes all the way into Sicily, I might have to invade somewhere else. I don't know. I don't like fighting German armor. It's very hard to do anything to it unless you have like paratroopers, and I don't get them till the end of the year here, much later in the year. So, anyway, that was the December 1942 turn of the East Front series. As always, I'm Dren608. If you liked my videos, please subscribe. Hit that like button so this can stay up on the YouTube algorithms for other people to find. And until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.